Controversial question. Did the church leave us or did we leave the church?
People started leaving the church for like a reason. It wasn't just because of like by happenstance. It was a reason why people started to see hypocrisy, contradictions, you know, like a lack of solutions.
And I think that like we do ourselves a disservice sometimes by thinking that we're just engaging with this religion where the way that this religion has materialized in America is the lines between white supremacy and Christianity have always been blurred. They've always been blurred. And a lot of times just by engaging with Christianity the way we have, you can perpetuate the mantle of white supremacy in ways that you don't even think you are.
I mean, what is the cost of being an ally?
Yeah.
Right?
To everybody, a white person with a little rhythm, and that next thing you know, he can come to the cookout. No, fuck, what are you bringing to the cookout?
Right.
What's his plate?
Right.
You know, we need to start asking people, they want to come to the cookout, what they bringing?
How about some money?
Yes.
Some reparations.
Some reparations, for real, yeah.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the new season of Tap In. 4 brothers, 1 table, and 0 filters.
3, 2, 1,
What's up, y'all? It's Quentin, and welcome to our next episode of Tap In. We are excited to be here in Detroit, Michigan. The D, what up, though? We got our very own Jerjuan here from the D. What's up, man? Tell the audience what's up.
What up, though? My name is Jerjuan Howard, born and raised right here in the city of Detroit. I'm the owner of the Howard Family Bookstore and executive director of a nonprofit called Umoja Debate League for the Kids.
That's what's up, man. Welcome to Tap In. Another familiar face, y'all know, the amazing Mandela Barnes from Milwaukee. Say what's up, Mandela.
Appreciate you. Really thankful for this take, too, because you only introduced yourself last time. Excited to be here in Detroit. Good to meet you. Good to meet you. We're going to have a good time today.
Yes.
Awesome. And new to the table and Tap In, our brother Joshua Doss. What's up, brother? Say what's up to the audience.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm Joshua Doss. I'm a senior research manager at Hit Strategy, so I'm a pollster. I also make content online under Doss Discourse, so good to be here with y'all.
Awesome, man. Well, look, we're not going to belabor the point. We want to jump right in. And we're going to start, kind of controversial here, talking about the black church. It's a lot going on right now. I don't know if y'all follow, but like CCM, contemporary Christian music, it's been a lot of upheaval with, black folks who are kind of taking the feel and vibe of gospel music and, going out a little bit outside and talking to, and not talking, but, ministering and being a part of kind of this emerging white contemporary Christian music. And so it's been like a little controversy with folks, who are kind of being seen as MAGA, being seen as entryway into Trump, and those folks having problems. But before we kind of jump there to politics, I want to just talk about the black church itself. There's kind of a trend of the black church maybe seen as getting smaller, people moving away. I know for myself, I don't attend church as often, but I still feel connected to the faith, connected to, Jesus Christ. I'm a Baptist, but what do y'all think? Are y'all going to church every Sunday? Are you seeing a decline in the black church? What's going on in y'all communities?
So I'll kick it off. I grew up going to church every Sunday. Every single Sunday. I was in the youth choir. It was all of those things.
Easter speeches.
Yeah, all of that. But as I got older, there has been some disconnect. And I think part of it is just what is the role of the church in terms of our communities being better. In the area I live in, I grew up in the same exact area. In a mile radius, there's like 15, 16 church buildings just along the street I grew up on. And if you know Puritan Avenue, it could use a lot of good things happening to it. And so what is the role of the churches when it comes to, I think people in my generation, our social issues are at the forefront every time you open up your phone. And who's accountable for these? Ourselves, of course, but what role does the church play? And you can't really have like a definite answer. I don't have a definite answer to that. I think that's caused some disconnect, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's a story for a lot of cities across the country where it's like all these church buildings and like areas that are in need of some real deep love. And when you question what's the role of the church, like one of the things, you often think about is like Now, whether it's purely stereotypical, partly true, or very true, where you have pastors who are living extravagant lives,
Right.
while the people who are giving their 10% of their hard-earned money when they really don't have it to spare, and it feels as if like, all right, well, what's the situation now if we have this building fund at the church and I'm struggling to pay my own rent, or I'm not even able to be in a position to buy a house? And when you also consider society as it is right now, the problems, the challenges we're dealing with. Historically, the Black church had been there, had been a vehicle to help create change, to be a driver, to be a hub for organizing. And it feels, when you talk about, Black church participation being on decline, I think part of that is people's idea that the church hasn't been there in a way that it has before. Because if you look at the statistics, religious participation, specifically Christianity, is finally like kind of leveled off. Like it was going down at, year after year after year, but it's finally starting to get to a point where it's settled, and even in some instances maybe on the uptick. You talked about Christian contemporary music, like just, it still baffles me sometimes. Like even in Milwaukee, there's a rock station, 1021, and they just transitioned from rock and alternative music to Christian music. And I was like confused by it. But this is happening in real life, and there's clearly an audience, or else people wouldn't be invested in it. And it's important for Black church to maintain relevance by being involved in some of these social issues we're dealing with.
Facts.
I don't know how important it is for the Black church to maintain relevance. Personally, I grew up in church. I was a church kid, all the same, every Sunday and Wednesdays. You know what I mean? Like my mom was.
I went to religious school in elementary.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of us, like we grew up in it for real. I think that the Black church has not been outspoken enough about how easily it has been for the most racist white people in America to hide under Christianity. I mean, a lot of these Black churches are living in, or they're in big cities, and they're not really around some of the more egregious white Christians in America, right? Some places, like in South Carolina, you'll see like they're the same state, but like in Chicago, like they're not thinking about what's happening down in Tennessee or these other places, and so it's like out of sight, out of mind. Yeah. But I do think that younger Black folks that are thinking a little bit differently about their relationship with all institutions. Right. Not just the church, the Democratic Party, all that. We're thinking differently about these institutions.
Higher education.
Higher education.
I was about to say college.
Yeah, I don't think that the Black church or any form of Christianity has answered for why it has been so, historically, it has been so easy for racist white Christians to be Christians in the first place.
But look, I want to play devil's advocate, right, and push back a little bit. I think, we've seen most recently probably the most, powerful boycott, led by the quote unquote Black church with Pastor Jamal Bryant, with the Target fast. I haven't seen Black folks be on the same page about a lot of economic boycott, campaigns in a long time. And so I do think, because of maybe the internet, because of, social media, the Black church is, in my opinion, still relevant to people, but in a different platform, right? So people might not be in the church building, but they're on the Bible app every morning, right? Getting a text message, or, they're seeing these dope videos of Pastor Brian or whoever, right? Kind of pushing back against stuff. Most recently, Howard John Wesley, pastor of Alpha Street Baptist Church, kind of went viral, kind of pushing back against some of the issues with ICE and Donald Trump. Like, is there maybe a difference versus a decline?
So yeah, I think it's still important for sure, because like there are people who still practice religion. Like I still consider myself a spiritual person of faith. Like I haven't been to church as much as I used to. Again, like same story. Grew up choir, Easter speech, all that. And there are other people who are that way. And I look at it in terms of just organizing in general, because there are people who have, who are progressive in thought, progressive in mind, progressive in politics, who still hang on to at least some bit of religion. And as these institutions fail, I think, or as these institutions decline, I think it speaks to the larger problems that we have as society, whether it's with loneliness, whether it's not being able to be on one accord, to be in places where we can take down these other structures that are truly, blatantly adversarial to us, and having a hub where people can come together and think is always a good thing, especially when it's positive, when it's pushing the right thing.
I just want to like separate something that you just said though, because and maybe it's something that I'm thinking about, because we're saying the church and you're saying religion, and I'm thinking specifically about Christianity.
Yeah.
And the reason why I want to be pointed about that is because I think one of the ills of Christianity and other monotheistic religions is that it has sought supremacy over spiritual experiences.
Got it.
Right, and it has sought supremacy over morality and values.
Oh, and that's nothing new. Like, you know, the majority of the wars fought throughout world history is, you know, it's all tied to religion. So I'm with you on that. Like, there are many faults, and the faults are the reason why participation is on the decline.
Absolutely, and I think that's not inconsequential in the conversation about, as Black Americans are starting to think differently about their relationship with this country, and frankly, a religion that they were, by and large, given, right? I mean, you have Christianity going back to some places in like Ethiopia, but by and large, this is the slave catcher's religion, right? It is. I mean, we real at the table, you know what I'm saying? Like, and we have found parts of it that also were a part of our liberation, Reverend Martin Luther King and Al Sharpton and the like. But I think Black people are thinking differently about how Christianity has sought that supremacy over religious experience. And so I bring that up because you said, you know, like, I still want to be religious and I think we can organize around religion. In particular, Christianity wants to have a supremacy over how we organize spiritually. And I don't think that is something that's going to be able to last much longer, in my opinion.
So you mentioned something, right? The slave catcher's religion. And I think, you know, I've been watching online a lot of, you know, issues kind of popping up. You know, one of the groups, Maverick City Music, right? One of the biggest contemporary Christian bands out there, you know, had some issues around race, right? Around, you know, the murder of Charlie Kirk and how folks were responding to that.
Not
you know, what is your take on some of these Black musicians, right? Who might be accused of, you know, selling out, right? And kind of joining that movement, but then kind of facing this challenge of like, well, damn, I ain't signed up for that, but like, you probably did when you went over there, you know? Like,
go ahead.
No. Because I think I know exactly what you're gonna say, and I don't think you're not wrong. Same thing happens also with people who get money.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of people, you know, some rappers, same thing. Remember, it wasn't even that long ago. It was Kodak Black came to Plies, saying, we rich, we got money. What you worried about this for? We rich, we got money. And it's and it feels as if, I mean, it goes right to your point where you look at the supremacist aspects that have like been a part of Christianity, and it's the same way economically, and people feel as if they've gotten to this place where they are a part of the supremacy as if they don't look like us.
Right.
What the 88% of white evangelical Christians in that Georgia election with the Reverend Raphael Warnock,
Dr. King's Church,
versus Herschel Walker.
Right.
88% of white evangelical Christians have voted for Herschel Walker against the Reverend. Why? Christians, in particular white Christians, ask Black people to leave their race at the door.
And they don't.
In this religious, and they never do.
Have.
They never do. And I think that like we do ourselves a disservice sometimes by thinking that we're just engaging with this religion, where the way that this religion has materialized in America is the lines between white supremacy and Christianity have always been blurred. They've always been blurred. And a lot of times, just by engaging with Christianity the way we have, you can perpetuate the mantle of white supremacy in ways that you don't even think you are. So like when you were saying like, I didn't sign up for all of this, yeah, you signed up for some of it, you know what I mean? So that's all I'm saying. I grew up Christian and I love the idea of Christianity, but I'm seeing how it is materializing in the Black America, and I think it's, I don't agree with it.
Yeah, but I do see parts bubbling up, like liberation theology, which does exist, and it seeks to be more holistic, more inclusive, more understanding, more not just forward thinking, but also just actively progressing for society. And it doesn't exist. And like the same thing is like there's going to be that with any monotheistic religion, any religion in general, like you are going to have those sorts of like pluses and minuses. They are a part of the entire fabric of society. I would rather participate in something that's going to help out people who are in a bad way, in a bad situation, dealing with every situation that brought, if we can go into religion more deeply, everything that brought, Jesus Christ from place to place as he sought to feed poor, sick, hungry, help people who were in situations that made not just their lives difficult, but the people around them. And I do think that in this moment now, with as much tragedy, as much desperation that people are dealing with, there is a place for religion to be proactive, to be positively, but that just doesn't happen on its own. And with the way things are going, with the outsized influence that more restrictive, more conservative churches have, and the things that they will cling to, like not saying a word about these snap cuts. Right. Not saying a word about, all this other, everything else, the healthcare premiums going through the roof, like truly not mean, and it's not just a black church thing. Like it is Christians with misplaced values. It is Christianity with misplaced values. And all that stuff, like, has to be readjusted. And I don't think it's up to this table, but it's for people who are going to be actively participating.
And I have a question. I want you to go. So y'all are saying, like, from your vantage point, you don't see the black church speaking on those issues or showing up to solve those problems.
No. To some degree, there are, but like not nearly as many churches as we have. They're not like that's. It's so.
I wish more were helpful. Right. Exactly. I'll put it that way. I wish more were helpful.
Yeah, I wish more were helpful. I wish more produced practical solutions to the problems that we have. I wish like more challenged. The system that we're kind of in the midst of, they have so much power, and it's such a void right now for them to literally plug in and
it would be so easy. It would be so easy, and the influence would be just immediately felt.
Exactly.
And I guess I go so deeper on this conversation because I got my start in interfaith organizing. So I've been, like, the religious leaders I've been around throughout my professional life have been ones that have been committed to doing the right thing. Like, even in many instances, going against their own denominations on certain issues like marriage, or being in places where, they are going to upset people in their own congregations who write real big checks because they decided to take a stand for economic justice. So, I guess my experience has just been, a little bit different on the outside. And it's not just Christianity, it's the multitude of faiths but people within those faiths who are truly living out their values.
I just think it's time for. Were you gonna say
No, go ahead, bro.
I just think it's time for us to really reevaluate our relationship with the stories we've been told about spirituality. It seems like a very, very good time, and I think I really think that in this moment too, where like you're saying, that there's so many, but churches they're not paying taxes. They're sitting in these, like, in neighborhoods, they're taking tithes and closed. Like, where are our organizing abilities outside of the church? Like, if I have to have talking to another client of like, and plus, like, this is not where we're gonna reach people who are voting either. We're not reaching people in pulpits. We're not reaching people outside of inside of the church doors. Like, I think this is a moment for us to kind of find where we're strong in organizing our civic engagement outside of the church.
And it shouldn't all fall on the church. Don't get me, like, that's not what I'm saying at all.
Yeah.
There's a subset. There's a population of people who do rely on the church for almost every single aspect of their own lives, and it's like,
do you think churches should pay taxes? I'm just curious. I'm curious as to what, like, that's the biggest thing for me. Is like, they take up space in our communities.
A lot of space. And I'll say this, here in Detroit, some people, the churches here are powerful, bro. Like, there are some king makers that are pastors here in Detroit, where if they tell you to vote for somebody, that's
what I'm saying.
Is going to vote for those people. And so with that amount of power, again, I just think it could be so many. So, for example, right, I mentioned the 15 churches that are along this corridor that I grew up in. Bro, if they came together, that could be a hub for self-determination. Like, gentrification won't even be a thought, because this is at least the commercial part of the corridor. But the churches aren't even thinking about solutions like that to the problems that are present in our lives here in Detroit. And there's so many, and they're so powerful.
It's a little myopic.
Bro, like, I can't.
Controversial question. did the church leave us or did we leave the church, right? Because what you're talking about right now, I'm rocking with, right? But do you feel like you could take that perspective and ideology into the church, into that community and make that happen? Or would there be like resistance to that change?
To some degree, both. So I'm actively doing some of that stuff now. To some degree, some of these churches got to combine. Right, like
practically,
for
practical reasons.
Yeah, like go ahead and combine.
Yes.
But that takes like
close.
like no ego
Or close.
You feel me? Because these buildings, these could be anything you want them to be. In our neighborhoods, this is a really black area that I live in. And these buildings, they're a church, but they can be anything. It could be job creation, it could be whatever, workforce development, it could be whatever.
Apartments,
whatever you want them to be, but they're kind of just locked up in the church right now. So yes, some of them are interested in doing like more communal, community development, holistic type of things. And some of them like, yo, this is my mission, this is what we own. I
doing my own things, like a little fiefdom.
We need to reevaluate our relationship to the black church because for the same reasons that we need to reevaluate our relationships to all of the institutions that exist here in America, because given our experience, it's not clear that any of our relationships with any of our institutions are working for us. The Black Church, the Democratic Party, politics, American politics, and the like have had ample opportunity to enrich our lives and have done good things, but have also dropped the ball consistently. The Black Church has been much more interested in condemning sin than it has been in talking about systems. It is very loud about condemning sexuality, not as loud about condemning injustice. And I don't know if it's time for us to leave the Black church, but it is certainly time for us to figure out what our relationship as we evolve in this country, economically, financially, spiritually, and emotionally, what our relationship with the church is.
Let's talk about gospel music, right? And CCM, contemporary Christian music. There's been a lot of controversy. A lot of the black members of some of these groups have been, moving away and kind of disbanding because, to your point, like they kind of found out, they messed around and found out who they were rocking with, right? When it comes to the unfortunate murder of Charlie Kirk, for instance, or, people stance on quote unquote MAGA and Trump. What happened to black gospel music? It used to be kind of a safe space for us, but did folks just trade in that loyalty and space for the bag?
Even to earlier points, like any religion does open door to toxicity, and anything that, and not just religion, politics, economics, like these are things that are based on a thought process of trust and also just sort of deep understanding. And there are always going to be people who manipulate that. And so for those artists, it's like, it's easy for us to be like, how would you not see that a mile away? How would you not see that this is the direction those people were going? They don't care about you. But some people get so, deeply involved art, and it's like quicksand.
Do you think, because the word I'm thinking about is exploitation. Yeah. Right. And a lot of people online are kind of looking at, Maverick City Music and other groups like that in the kind of CCM world. But I kind of go back a few years earlier, right? When
I know Maverick City. Yeah.
You don't know what Maverick City is? Are you serious?
I don't. I'm sorry.
Oh man, it's like one of the biggest, Christian music groups in the world right now. Bro.
Sorry.
You've probably heard something, bro.
You've certainly heard it.
Yeah.
Maverick City.
I gotta catch you up, bro.
You gotta catch me up.
You gotta expand that Pandora channel,
Yeah. I just remember South Park, Faith Plus One.
Stop. But all right, so like exploitation, we've seen that happen somewhat by these white supremacists, and was what I'll call them. But at the same time, I think of people like Kanye West, right? When he had the Sunday service choir, right? And it's like, have we seen that exploitation on both sides? Is it a both sides thing, or is it kind of in this moment just focus on kind of CCM and the white supremacists?
It's definitely been on both sides. Kanye West is the perfect example.
Yeah, that was a good example.
He was getting massive write-offs for Sunday service too, because it was like a seed. I don't know. He played with the I remember reading that he saved a lot of money by having those. Yeah, I mean, I think it's absolutely been happening on both sides. I think it's harder to make the case that we're exploiting ourselves when we're taking the tunes and the melodies that we created. Gospel music was created in Chicago, by the way, in case anybody was.
Not on the continent, in Chicago.
In Chicago.
Okay, all right.
And look, like I have a lot of respect for how those melodies and tunes did kind of like illustrate our early experiences in this country. But like, yeah, you've been hearing, like, I've been hearing gospel music or the gospel sounds and rap music all the time.
Oh yeah.
You know, talking about their economic situations, but also how they'll kill a nigga to some harmonies that sound like your mama and your auntie singing in the background. It's like, what's going on here?
Right.
And I get what's trying to like they're trying to have us connect, like. Chance has a lot of choir stuff, you know, he's trying to get us to connect to something that we felt when we were kids. He's also making $14-15 million off this album, you know what I mean? So it happens on both sides, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you said it, bro. I agree. It's definitely two-sided. It's not. The rappers do it, man. Like Kanye and Chance, though. I couldn't think of two better examples.
Yeah,
bro.
real good examples.
They connected the two together.
But like I you know, because
Our face to fix.
Scarface was hot, but it's like, so look, I was similar to y'all. I was a choir boy, right? I was like, gospel music has a really special place, like for me. Is there something wrong with us though, in the sense that we allow something Are we cooked, right? It's something so sacred to be exploited, to just be given to the highest bidder. Like, what happened to our society to where this, because it's not just music, right? To me, it's the Black church, right? This is like a spiritual, sacred institution. And we've seen it become dilapidated buildings. We've seen it become irrelevant to social issues. We've seen our music be literally co-opted by white supremacists, right? Like, is that on us, right? A lot of like fingers are pointed at the church, at the leaders of the church, but like, what happened to Black culture, Black society, and our lack of ability to like hold that space sacred?
It's a good point.
Or am I bullshit?
No. I do think it's a good point because it's like, especially now when if we're moving, and I admit that I don't have a solution for this. If we're moving away from the church, where are safe spaces? Like, it's not Black Twitter, right? Like, where
it's no Twitter.
It's Black X or whatever they might call it now, or Black TikTok. So I don't even know where we land. And I think when you're talking about like, is it on us that we've allowed this to be? Yeah, I think we have some culpability here. Like we absolutely still bought the Kanye albums.
Right.
Right? I did at least. I'll say that.
Wait, to what point?
Still play it.
I mean, I love it.
Look, I'm from Chicago, so when Kanye drop out, I'm gonna at least listen to it. You know what I'm saying?
Spend it one time at least.
Yeah, you gotta spend it once. But, yeah, I mean, I think we let it happen for sure.
Yeah. Well, there was a place called Black Planet.
Yeah,
you old enough to remember?
Yeah.
Black Planet.
You might not be old enough to remember.
It was Black Planet. No.
What is Black Planet?
I know about
he's
it.
not old enough.
It was Black Planet.
You
He's
were
only
old enough.
30.
Oh, man.
It was at the forefront. Black Planet was out before Facebook.
Wasn't that
like you know how we talk about
like pre-MySpace?
You know how we talk about how Black people invented stuff?
Yeah.
The Black Planet.
MySpace.
I was there to see it.
Wait, who was the Black Mark Zuckerberg then?
I was there to see Black Planet. I don't know if the person. I don't know if he's black, but it was. I don't.
Yeah, it was a Black creator.
You sure?
We hope.
Dead serious, yeah.
Dang.
What?
Yes, man.
Is this a real thing? So it was like 2002 or something?
2000. Yeah, I was in high school for
This is
sure.
back
Black
in the
Planet
day.
came out, and I graduated high school 2003.
It was a combination of MySpace and like, what was the first big dating site?
Match.com.
Like a Match.com type thing. Like
Really?
you found your people on
Yeah, man.
Planet.
It was a real thing. Like, and it allowed us to code. Because you could, man, we had some crazy websites, some crazy
Well, we were
graphics.
coding on MySpace. I remember.
But this is before MySpace.
Yeah,
okay.
But this is before MySpace.
Because like, remember in school, you had to know how to access it
had to know.
around the quote unquote early
Yeah.
stage firewalls,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So like, we were on them joints in the lab.
Man, how do you know? How old are you?
Well, so bro, I grew up, my big brother, my cousin, I'm 27, but they
How you know about Black Planet?
bro, I'm telling you, like my big brother, my cousins, they just knew about it, and I would try to
man.
make one, they wouldn't let me. But
Like it was cool, man. Like based on like location, you could find people. It was wild.
And it was a time where, like, you know, again, maybe I'm, you know, romanticizing it, but like the 90s was lit, man. Like in the early 2000s, like we had Black content, we had major Black radio stations,
We had
radio
more
shows,
Black
right?
TV
Like
shows,
Black
too.
churches
Yeah,
were
for sure.
popping. Like we had and to your point, that somewhat didn't translate online after that, right? Like all these spaces were very much protected and almost sacred, but like every almost institution in our community has like been whitewashed, co-opted, or started to fail.
Yeah, when you say it like that, it doesn't surprise me so much that I think, and I hate this, but so many black men are starting to think differently about their space in the political spectrum. They're getting a little curious about the Republican Party. We did a survey and we scored out people's knowledge on basic things about the civil rights movement. Just like, what were literacy tests used for? When someone says the civil rights movement, like, what does that mean? What did the Voting Rights Act do? Just like basic stuff. The lower they scored, the higher the chances that they voted for Donald Trump. It had a correlative relationship with like knowing basic things about the civil rights movement and voting for Donald Trump.
But again, where did we learn a lot of that stuff, right? In the black church, in the black barbershop, right? Like
in the black home.
In the black home, right, with black families. And so like, it's difficult to, and I hope I'm not sounding too conservative, but I want to be real, right? Like, it's difficult to point the finger, right, at everybody else. And I'm not saying that like, yes, there was, I think, a massive strategy, just like, the war on drugs, right? Like, to literally like, try to like disintegrate black institutions. But at the same time, damn, y'all, we got to protect our stuff. And our families and our people, right? Our education, our history. And institutions like the black church were always, at least for me, how I grew up in South Carolina, were always there to not just reinforce, but like provide a foundation, man.
Yeah, but that's even more the point. Like how powerful and how instrumental they are in all of the things, black culture. If you know you're that important, you have to like hold yourself to that standard. People started leaving the church for like a reason. It wasn't just because of like by happenstance. It was a reason why people started to see hypocrisy, contradictions, like a lack of solutions. Like people didn't see it and feel it in their everyday lives outside of Sunday. So they stopped going. And the church understood how important they were to the movement, to the education, to all those things. Like, yo, you gotta hold that baton high and like,
with great power, great responsibility.
Absolutely. So like we have to place, I mean, again, accountability is on us too, for sure. I'm not saying it's not. But the church, it has to be said.
What's wild too about, sort of digital age assimilation is like how much of our stuff got taken and became mainstream.
Yeah, that's a point too.
Which I definitely don't understand, which makes this conversation even more confusing. Like, as much as we've lost, like, it has actually gone somewhere. It has become somebody else's.
Yeah, Gen Z, I mean, most of their language is just AAV. Like, most of the things that they say Gen Z slang.
What did you say? AAV?
AAV.
What's that?
African American.
I know what it is, but just tell the audience.
African American vernacular English.
Intellectual motherfuckers. Sorry, blur that out.
My bad.
But they'll just like, SNL made me mad because they had this whole like skit where they were like, all the lawyers were talking in Gen Z slang, and it was just things, it was just shit black people say. I'm like, this is not Gen Z slang. They take our shit in front of our faces and then just like, like even the whole like Kim Kardashian getting a fat ass and big lips, and then deciding once she broke up with her black husband to just get skinny and date Pete Davidson and take all the ass fat out of her lips. And I'm just like, we just let you cosplay as a black woman for a couple years and now you just go back to being white and nobody says anything? Like, these were the features that y'all for hundreds of years told us that we were lesser than because we had. And you can just put them on as a costume and then take them off and be a rich white woman again? Like, shit is crazy.
It is, it is. And I mean, like, just like BBL culture in general, right? Like, I'm gonna fly to South America and get an injection, like, you're like, and again, like to our history, like you already have those features. You don't need to enhance them anymore, right? Like,
you're saying when we get BBL?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, we then take that image and like, I want to be more like that. She's copying you. Like, what are you talking about? It is wild.
I thought about
it.
It's
wild.
Because in Atlanta, they walking around with BBLs everywhere, and I'm like,
not just Atlanta, not just the A.
That's the only place I see them. I'm like,
but let's keep the conversation going, though, right? So we talked about the black church and black institutions. Let's talk about the black barbershop, in my opinion. I think, the concept of this show, right, Tap In, is where black men could come together and just, talk about what's going on, talk about, what we're hearing in the community. I will say, and I was, watching kind of Paul Mooney, and he was talking about, the black man is the most copy person in the world, right? So to your point.
Facts.
And so as black men, how do you feel as though we are, kind of responding to this moment of like being copied, being cosplayed, but then receiving all the negative societal impacts of that, right? So we're being over policed, right? We're being undereducated. We're being underinvested in when it comes to entrepreneurship. Like, how do we respond to this in this moment when we know society is like kind of taking the best of us and monetizing it, and we're not benefiting from it?
That's how America was built.
Yeah, I'm about to say yes.
Constitution. Yeah.
So what do we do about it though, right? Like, we ain't just sitting here and taking it.
You
right?
got Mandela Barnes sitting at the table. You looking at me? Why are you looking at me?
What about that?
You got the Mandela Barnes. I want to know what
Is the answer just like, policy and politics, right? Is it entrepreneurship and what you're doing, building
policy our way out of
institutions,
that.
right? That's what I'm saying. How do we as black men think and feel about this moment as we're in right now, right? When, to your point, our kids aren't learning our history, our institutions that were there are kind of dilapidated and not being, the leaders that we need them to be. Like, is it just run for office and vote and like create policy?
No,
But
it's never just is it this thing? It's about like all this stuff that we got to do. Like, it's a lot of things that need to happen. I don't even have the answer to this question, like, besides a freeze on culture, a freeze on black culture. No more black culture. We're done. We're just gonna be vanilla, and we're just gonna sit here and sit still and just go to work and come home. But that's not a real thing. Like, I honestly, like, I'm perplexed because anytime like we innovate, that can be inventions itself. It's personality, like it's politics, like all these things, like sports culture. Like, the way we take ownership is by not like giving this stuff away as we have before. Like, and a lot of it was taken by force for sure. Nothing we could have done about it, but in real time, as this is happening in a new age where you have black wealth. Now, granted, it's like this. There's black wealth that exists, and that black wealth cannot allow black culture to continue to be exported just so that small fragment, that small segment of black wealth can continue to grow. And we need people in there who are truly cognizant of the rest of us and truly aware of the rest of us, truly looking out for the rest of us. Because what black excellence is or has been is only represented so few of us. And it hasn't truly been about black whole excellence.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
But Jerjuan, I want to talk about what you're doing here in Detroit, right? You're on the ground, you're investing in the community, you're building institution. How do you see an answer to this question of like, how do we reverse some of these trends, especially as black men?
Man, I think ownership is a part of it. And to some extent, those who have the keys should gatekeep our culture to some extent. I think we should gatekeep it from being exploited. You know what I'm saying? Like, if there's something that we're doing here, like, we should have the ownership of it. And if somebody's gonna benefit, it's gonna be us and our
Many tickets to the cookout, man, giving away.
Yeah, nah, that's whack.
Giving away.
We gotta stop that.
Yeah,
right?
that's
Like,
away.
the cookout is closed. We're at capacity. Okay, we're not taking no more tickets, no more exchanges. Right, like
You're gonna have to earn it.
we gotta hold on to it. To your point, right? Like, we're again, and we talked about this earlier, right? Sometimes we are so vested in welcoming and like being the invited, group, and like everybody's like, y'all motherfuckers stay out.
Yeah.
Like, y'all can't come in, but we're like, oh, it's okay.
Yeah.
Come join us.
Yeah. We're doing it again right now with the support of Bad Bunny in the Super Bowl. After watching Latino Americans, and I understand he's Puerto Rican, and it was mostly Mexicans but like just in general, watching our brown brothers and sisters look at Donald Trump and say, maybe 56% of Hispanic men were like, yeah, that's fine with me.
It was higher than that, dog.
Yeah, well,
70.
Yes, something crazy like that. And it's like, and here we are feeling betrayed by our Hispanic brothers and sisters, and the election happens, Trump wins, they start rolling back our history. They're taking away our civil rights divisions in our school boards and things like that. And an opportunity for us to turn our back on the Hispanic community and join some of the criticism that's coming from the white conservative right about having a Super Bowl in Spanish. We don't take it. We support. We down black folk on the line downloading the Bad Bunny album and I'm not saying that we shouldn't be. I'm glad we are, but we
Not rock with Bad Bunny, guys. I'm trying to follow you. You trying to say we came out
I'm
with Bad
glad
Bunny?
we are, but I'm just saying that black people always see collective liberation in ways that people that should be seeing it with us,
Exactly.
when they get opportunities to separate from us, they do. You know what I mean? And that's my thing, especially people who can get that proximity to whiteness with their skin complexion in ways that we could never get. I'm always a black person in a room full of white people.
So what? Like, I actually am very interested. What is your perspective on how we should respond?
I'm glad that we have responded still with collective liberation and seeing the ills of our brothers and sisters that are brown as our ills, because white supremacy and fascism has never just stopped at one racial demographic.
Right.
Just because Trump was talking about we're next. We're always next on the chopping block. So I'm glad that we see it that way and we still want to support. I just wish in our support we are a little bit more boisterous and loud about the fact that we didn't get y'all support in November.
We should be more strategic.
Just say it while we're supporting. That's my thought on it.
Same, bro. And being an ally, it has to be more strategic on our end. I think we have to look at the context of what it means to be an ally, or what it means to be in partnership or coalition with different groups. Because if we do not, we just blindly, whatever somebody else's mission is, we behind y'all, that becomes a really slippery slope.
Being an ally goes both ways, and
Exactly.
in many ways, it's like cultural pick me.
Yeah, it should be, we should look at stuff through the lens of history. We should look at stuff through literally what is tangible as a result of this partnership. It should be so much more that we do as a community before we open up the culture and open up our resources and everything else to other causes, in my opinion.
I mean, what is the cost of being an ally?
Yeah.
Right? And so many times, to y'all's point, there is no cost, right? We let people just come on over, and it's like, nah, you actually gotta show up in a certain way before you get that card to the cookout that we so willingly give out, right?
To everybody, a white person with a little rhythm, and that next thing you know, he come to the cookout. No, fuck, what are you bringing to the cookout?
Right.
What's his plate?
Right.
We need to start asking people, they want to come to the cookout, what they bringing?
How about some money?
Yes.
Some reparations.
Some reparations, for real, yeah.
It's important for us to gatekeep our culture for many reasons, but the main reason is to protect ourselves from being exploited. The culture that we have is a producer of a lot of different things, and I don't think that we should just allow it to be extractive. It's important for us to control the narrative of our culture, the stories, to stay authentic, and we have a right to gatekeeping something that we've created that has historically, like I said, from the music to the movies, entertainment, the whole nine. All those things are slowly being stripped away from us, so we have to gatekeep it as we continue to build and move forward.
Like white women, there's no demographic that benefited more from affirmative action than white women. It's not even close. They almost 2x black women on where they moved from before affirmative action existed to after affirmative action. And every opportunity they get, they vote against the things that help black women. Every chance they get.
I was, I'm on camera, I'm quoted by saying, white women were going to deliver us the election last year, right? I just knew, right, that white women learned their lesson from Hillary Clinton, right? They knew they messed up. They were going to come and deliver this black woman to the White House. And I was wrong.
How are you reckoning with that?
It's been tough. It's been tough.
Yeah.
No, but again, I think it's to your point, right? Look at history, right? Look at the pattern, and to your point too, we got to just call it out.
You hanging out at Lululemon asking why?
Nah, look, I ain't gonna lie, bro. White women seem really pissed off last year,
They did.
right? They seem that way. But again, when you go in that booth and you close that curtain. Like, you can do whatever you want to do, and we saw the impacts of that. And so I think there is a little bit of, you called it cosplay, right? There is a little bit of performative, or performance to I'm down for the cause, right? And we saw it all in 2020 with the murder of George Floyd, and just the immediate backtrack to like, I'm comfortable over here. I'm comfortable doing this thing.
I do have a question for you though. I know, like, at this table, we just black men just chatting and talking, but you're one of the best political strategists in America.
Oh, thank you, brother.
No, it's true. It's true. I knew that before I knew you, before I ever met you. And I do wonder, like, with your specific position and knowing how much of the market on the left just wants to win elections with the soccer mom that's where all the money is going.
Exactly.
Every single year. Like, what is the strategy there to get, or is that how we start winning elections back? Do we need to keep focusing on the soccer mom of America and where she might move?
No, I don't think so, right? And I think we've been saying this now for almost 10 years, but look, the reality is, like, the Democratic Party or the left, for every dollar that we spend, going after, voters, only 10% of those dollars, 10 cents, is being spent targeting Black voters, right? Targeting young people. And the reality is that's the base of our party. It's the future demographic of America, right? Like, I hate to break it to white people, like, unfortunately, you guys have a recessive gene, and this country is gonna get darker no matter what happens, right? And so the reality of us spending the majority of our money going after a shrinking demographic is wild, right? Now, the reverse of that is, Donald Trump has been an anomaly in the sense that he's increased white voter turnout in ways that we just did not predict in 16. He did it in 24 as well. So there's something to him. Right now, he can't run again. We'll see if that actually is the case, because, he's a crazy fascist. But like, the strategy for us is we got to continue investing to where we know the votes are. The votes are with people of color. The votes are with young people. They're a growing demographic. The problem is the majority of Black voters, the majority of kind of voters of color, are over the age of 45, right? Like, when you say Black community, one of the reasons why the political establishment goes to the Black church is because that's where older Black people are. And older Black people actually show up and vote, right?
Every election.
And so it's like, it's a weird question that, a lot of white political strategists say, I'm gonna go where I know there are votes, where I know I can reach the people that are gonna show up and vote.
Yeah.
My perspective, I think our perspective is like, let's go to where the younger people are who aren't voting and invest there, because they're a much bigger demographic of people.
Yeah.
Right? And so, like, I'm not saying it's an easy solution, but we just gotta invest there. Like, it's people, time, and money.
Yeah.
The only three things that really matter in winning elections. And we're not investing time, we're not organizing people, and we're damn sure not investing money.
Yeah.
And so, I think people's strategy right now is to keep losing. I mean, I don't understand the equation there, like how you don't invest time, money, and resources to organize people. So, but what do you think, brother? You've done some amazing work, served as lieutenant governor in the great state of Wisconsin, one of the very few Black people in history who've been elected statewide. Like, what are your thoughts on this problem as you talk about and think about culture and the Black church and all this, and unfortunately our politics as well?
Yeah, but like I said earlier, Black churches is going to be there regardless of like if the influence is what it was. Like I said, it's not at that point today, but it is still vital. But to that point, like the work that I'm doing now with Power to the Polls, like we are focused on engaging infrequent voters. We are focused on finding new voters. And it's not about taking any set of voters for granted who we expect to show up every election. It's about getting more people in the process.
Right.
Because as you mentioned, Donald Trump has tremendously driven up white voter participation, but he has also brought some Black people along the way.
Yes.
And so much of that is preventative work, and it is trying to be sure that we appeal, because on his face, like you said, people feel like it feels like we're investing and losing. People have taken for granted that certain people won't show up to vote. And if that continues, which has been the case, like we are setting ourselves up to lose every election moving forward. And so from 2020 to 24, Power to the Polls increased voter turnout in the presidential, where every other major city in a swing state was flat. Our swing towards Donald Trump in Milwaukee was about a fourth of what it was in comparable cities, like your Detroits, your Phillies, your Phoenixes. Like they saw like 6 to 9% swings towards Donald Trump, as you can attest. In Milwaukee, I want to say it was like 1.5. In the wards where we were president, it was a 0.4% swing towards Donald Trump. And Milwaukee ended up having the highest voter turnout of the 50 largest cities in the entire country.
Oh, wow.
And it takes investing in communities that continue to be overlooked, like the people who you don't expect to show up to vote. And it's not like you're doing it at the expense of any other community. Like it's so much money out there, unfortunately, in these campaigns and politics. And all that money seems to be concentrated in one direction instead of being more strategic. Like, think about how many text messages you get. It's like, dude, I know I'm going to vote, right? Like it's like in so many organizations, they get money, they send a text message, and that's their voter outreach plan for a state like Wisconsin, and they get millions of dollars to do it. It's like, dude, please, this is the least strategic thing you can do. But you can take half of that money and put it into voter mobilization. You can take the sum of that money, put it into year-round organizing to make sure people win. So we know what it takes to increase our vote share, to grow our political power. It's just the frustrating conversation when people say, oh, we're gonna put money into this. Like, yeah, well, that's where everybody else has put their money into. That thing is going to happen and you're gonna reach a point of diminishing returns. It is going to be oversaturated while this program gets completely overlooked. That's full of organizers that are from the neighborhood, from the community, have ties, truly understand what's going on. And y'all wanna do a bus trip to Milwaukee to turn out some voters, some people who've never been here before. Like, it's great to have volunteers, but that can't be your paid program. It's volunteers are more than welcome. Don't pay people to come to Milwaukee when it's people in Milwaukee who, one, need work.
Exactly.
And two, have just an abundance of knowledge of the communities they're gonna be in.
That's facts.
Why do y'all think young people aren't voting though? I mean, I know it's like a loaded question, but like, why do you think?
Man, cause stuff ain't getting better.
Okay.
Like, it's hard, man. I can imagine being a younger age right now, like being 30 or 27, trying to, get solid on my feet in life, trying to buy a house, trying to do anything, man. Everything is, the price costs out of control, man.
Yeah, I mean, and look, you're the researcher. I know you got some answers to this. Like,
Yeah, I think it depends on how you look at it. Like you said, stuff ain't getting better. I think if you have a narrow vision of where we should be, then there's some very justified frustration. I also think that like this is, maybe not the time to talk about how good things are, but we are still frequently living and benefiting from things that, in particular, the Democratic Party has delivered for us, and we just don't ever really talk about. Like, we don't talk. The thing that kills me is like we never talk about how like Democrats kill cigarettes. One day we were in restaurants taking in secondhand smoke, and it was gone.
Exactly.
And our life expectancy went up 5 or 6 years, and Democrats never talked about it after that. The Democratic Party created Medicare, Medicaid, the VA, the 40-hour work week, workforce protection. I mean, there's so many things that we sit here saying stuff ain't getting better when like people have to get vaccinated to send their kids to public schools, and we're getting, and so like, I think we need to do a better job of talking about what we have done and connecting people to the opportunities that we've provided when we're asking for their vote. You're talking about the text message that says go vote. The text message say go vote. Also, we passed this bill that gives you that lowers your tax or gives you tax credit for this and that. Did you sign up for it? Did you sign up for student debt relief? Like in that same text message where we're asking you for your vote, we need to come with the progress that we delivered.
The why.
So political education is like a huge thing. It's kind of what I'm hearing.
Civics, man. Civics is a problem. Like just learning about processes and.
That's what a lot of young people say at the doors. They're like, oh, it doesn't, like nothing.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I definitely think it's an political education piece. The average person in Detroit, I'll say, can't tell you what the roles and responsibilities of a mayor is or a city council person is. And so when it's come time to vote, they have no clue of how much power these positions.
As lieutenant governor, like, oh, you the alderman, what's up?
You feel me? And I think if more political education went into these campaigns and things like that too, just letting people know, like, hey, this is the road I'm running for. I have control over these things. If I'm elected, I can do this. I don't think there's enough honesty when it comes to what roles and responsibilities and like what powers are. And because people are not like, they're not stupid. Like they can understand if you explain to them how this affects their everyday life. And they will be more inclined, I think, to vote. People don't see a connection to it at all. They just don't know.
It depends on what lesson we want to learn from the last 10 years of Trump, though, because Donald Trump wasn't honest about anything in what he promised for America, but he brought a feeling to a lot of poor white, Republicans run the House, the Senate, the White House, the Supreme Court, and everything else, and are getting opportunities to instill and imprint their vision on America off of the backs of just the vibes. He just came with vibes, right? Like, that nigga don't say nothing true ever. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna get rid of 20 million immigrants. Like, ain't even 20 million, ain't even 11 million.
But I think his base is different than the base we're talking about too, though, because you mentioned earlier how black people are starting to question their ties to everything, political party, religion, everything else. So like I think we are yearning for like a why, like an explanation, like something practical that's tangible and makes sense. I don't think his base is, I don't think they care about that as much as
I think there's a similarity between the two bases we're talking about, and I think they both are frustrated with the status quo and want radical, big change.
Right.
And I think that Donald Trump, even if there are things that he literally cannot do, like legally is not being allowed to do, he's offering to like tear things down.
To do it.
And I don't think that our bases are that different in the sense of like they want somebody, like Democrats are always talking about like a fighter. Like there's actually a decent appetite for destruction of the status quo right now.
Well, and it goes back to the point, like when I said, you highlighted historically things that have changed and gotten better, but like in Wisconsin, where our minimum wage is still $25, we haven't, like Medicaid hasn't been expanded under Obamacare. Utility costs every year is just a rate increase. Exactly. So when I say things haven't gotten better for people, like there are very real tangible things that people are still struggling with costs. And to the point you just made, that is why people want to just tear it all down and want to rebuild something completely new that offers more opportunity to them.
And look, I was in the barbershop this week, and more than once, people come back to it's all the same. They're all the same, right? And it's like we haven't figured out a message to break through that reality for folks. Does my vote, is it really going to change the conditions of my life? And no matter who's in charge. And people don't feel that way, right?
No, for real. And I've heard that barbershops are pricing people out.
Hey, man.
As I've heard.
Real talk.
I couldn't tell you.
How much is your cut?
Man, 50.
My cut's $50, dog.
Last time I was at
$50, dog. Like,
last time I was at a barbershop, it was like $12.
I get it.
I just said last time.
Bro, after the pandemic, it all went up.
And when it went from 5 to 12, I said, making sure, so I never have to come back again.
Wow, $50.
You know what though? I mean, like I get my hair braided. And usually, and it has gotten so expensive that it has made me remember that this isn't how we used to do it. Like we used to just hit your auntie up or your cousin, and you buy some food and she'll come and she'll braid you up, or he'll braid you up, whoever. And I was like, oh, this is actually forcing me to get back in community. Let me get out this barbershop and kick it with my family and have them braid my hair.
Hey, this black woman just won a pitch competition for creating a robot to braid hair. I was like, what? We about to get robots braiding hair, bro.
It's actually crazy.
It is crazy, right? Is it good? Is it bad?
I don't think it's good.
All right, so fellas, give me your last take. I want you to tap in here on. I'm gonna bring it back to the black church. Give me your last thoughts on what the black church can do to remain relevant in this new world that we have.
The black church could provide practical solutions to the problems that black people face, to be more, to remain relevant, even more relevant amongst the younger generation.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say adapt, and just too much of, there's been a lot of energy focused on alienating in many instances. And if you have the energy to alienate, then you have the energy to organize and use and use that for good, because you're going to alienate yourself out of an entire congregation and an entire generation of people and an entire future for the institution.
The Black community, or the Black church, I think has done a good job of organizing the community at times. I think the Black church needs to organize itself and consolidate in really real, tangible ways to become a one-man, one-sound movement in these communities. Like you said, 15 on one block, insane. It doesn't need to happen. One all together, talking about the same issues, practical solutions, putting more energy into bringing people in as opposed to alienating.
That's dope. I recently heard Pastor Jamal Bryant say that the Black Lives Matter movement was the first time a national social movement happened without the Black church being at the forefront. And so I think in this moment, right, whether you're pro-Trump, anti-Trump, America's at a political upheaval. And if the Black church is going to remain relevant, it has to be seen as a leading force in this moment. Whatever that means for it, I think is one of the only ways it's going to remain relevant. So brothers, I want to thank y'all for tapping in today. Again, we are here in Detroit, Michigan. It's been an amazing experience. The D is such a hard working, gritty city. And
So cold.
It's so cold in the D. Hey, you don't know about that.
No, that's why I said it, man.
But thank y'all so much for tapping in, y'all. Appreciate y'all.